not buying a bag, you're buying belonging. Trap 3. Designer disguise spending for applause. It doesn't start with greed. It starts with longing. The longing to feel important, to be respected, to finally step into a room and belong. And so we reach for something that seems to promise all that. A brand, a label, a logo stitched onto leather, embossed into steel, draped across our shoulders. That $2,000 Louis Vuitton bag. That $10,000 Rolex. The shoes that cost more than your rent. We don't just buy them for what they are. We buy them for what they say. But here's the question. Who are we trying to say it to? Let me tell you about Rachel. She grew up in a working-class family. Her parents never owned anything designer. But when she got her first big corporate job, she felt the pressure instantly. She was smart, hard-working, but she didn't feel seen. So she bought the bag. A beautiful black Saint Laurent tote. $2,700. Charged to her card. She wore it proudly. It felt like armor, like proof that she belonged, that she had made it. But beneath the surface, her reality was different. She was still living paycheck to paycheck, still had student loans, still hadn't saved a single dollar for retirement. And every swipe of that tote bag was a reminder, not of success, but of strain. And yet, no one knew. On the outside, she looked polished, prosperous, powerful. That's the designer disguise. Now meet Malcolm. Malcolm also landed a high-paid job in finance. His coworkers drove Teslas and wore custom suits, but he remembered something his grandfather taught him. Never spend more to look rich than to be rich. So Malcolm made a different choice. He bought high-quality, timeless clothing, but never on credit. He invested early, lived below his means. When his bonus came, he put it into index funds, not a watch. Fast forward 10 years, Rachel had a closet full of fashion and very little freedom. Malcolm had a portfolio that gave him options and peace. Here's the truth that nobody tells you when you're standing in front of that glass display case. Luxury is not the problem, but timing and proportion are everything. If your net worth is $10,000 and you buy a $2,000 bag, you just spent 20% of your entire wealth on a purse. And if that money came from a credit card with 20% interest, you're not just buying style, you're buying stress. That $500 pair of shoes doesn't cost $500. It costs what that $500 could have become. If invested in an ETF with 8% annual return, that's over $5,000 in 30 years. Now multiply that by every designer treat you've ever justified. The dinner you couldn't afford, the suit you wore once, the gold necklace bought in a moment of insecurity. The numbers don't lie, but neither do our emotions. Because most of the time, when we chase these things, it's not about beauty. It's about belonging. We want to be admired, respected, loved. We want someone, anyone, to look at us and say, wow, they must be doing well. But here's the hard truth. The people you're trying to impress, they're not thinking about you at all. And the people who love you, they don't need labels to believe in your worth. Let that sink in. Now, does that mean you can never enjoy something luxurious? Of course not. But build your foundation first. Follow the assets first rule. Own appreciating assets before you buy depreciating luxuries. Let your investments fund your indulgences, not your salary. And if the item costs more than 1% of your net worth, pause. Ask yourself, is this adding to my life or subtracting from my future? And if you still love fashion, there are smarter ways. Resale platforms like The Real or Vestiaire Collective offer authentic designer goods for a fraction of the price. Subscription services like Rent the Runway let you wear stunning clothes without permanent debt. Because let's be clear, you don't need a $10,000 handbag to carry your dreams. You don't need red bottoms to walk in your purpose. You don't need a Rolex to know your time is now. True wealth doesn't shout. It moves quietly. wisely, deliberately. And real confidence? It walks into a room without needing anyone's approval because it already knows its own value. That's the kind of elegance no brand can buy. If this spoke to you, then you need to hear all 7. Full video is in the description.